Welcome to This Week in Guns, a podcast that covers the commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. I'm your host, Jake Challen from Gun Guy Radio, and you make this show possible. That's right, you simply click through our Amazon affiliate link the next time you're shopping online, and a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. Well, we have a great set of panelists with us this week. We have John Patton, the I'm With Chaos YouTube channel, and a bunch of other made-up stuff in the show notes I'm not going to read. Hey, John.
Hi, Jake. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. Well, I'm doing good right now. The family has been throwing up the last 2 days, so if you see me get chipmunk cheeks during the show and run away, you're in charge, John, if that happens.
Wow. You guys hear that? You're all in big trouble if he throws up.
And Josh Cass, Four Guys Guns, and other made-up stuff I'm not going to read. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Jake. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
And also Ebbs from House of Guns and House of Arms. Hey, Ebbs, what's up?
Hey, Jacob.
And special first-time guest, Billy Johnson from Admits the Noise, and also NRA commentator. Hey, Billy.
How you doing, Jake?
Well, it's great to have you on the program. So what is up?
Me.
I guess you got a Kickstarter campaign going on?
Yep, I just launched a fundraising for my documentary called Protecting Liberty, and pretty excited to finally announce that. I've been working on that for a few months, and just launched it on Kickstarter. And we've been getting some really good support. And Firearms Policy Coalition just came out today in support of it, and so we're really excited.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll have to cover that a little more in depth later on in the show. So, announcements. Tough Mudder. That's right. We're doing a Tough Mudder. The Gunrunner Firearms Radio Network team doing the Chicago Tough Mudder here coming up really soon in April, May. Yeah, May. I think it's May 9th. While this pops up. Yeah, May 9th. Hope to see you out there. If you want to run on the Gunrunner team, email Carol at fattofithq.com. So we are to the top stories of the week. Terrorist attack on Kenyan college. So this broke last night. 147 dead Islamist gunmen killed after attack at the Kenyan college. So this was one of the worst massacres in Kenya since 1998 when 200 people died in the Nairobi blast. But this is pretty insane. They have these Muslim extremists going through this campus and singling out Christians and either abducting them or killing them on the spot. Ebbs, have you been following this?
As a matter of fact, I have. I've been following and saddened by it. I think some other U.S. media type things have taken precedence in terms of importance, but I'm glad to see some coverage of it happening currently, but a really bad scene over there, and I think, to be a little bit preachy at that risk, it feels like we've been kind of conditioned here to think when terrorist attacks happen that it's worse when it's here because it's here, like we matter more or something like that, like human life isn't valuable all over the planet. And this is at a college where armed militants walked in and started singling people out, and based on their prejudice against whatever their beliefs were, and 147 and probably be added to that are no longer living as a result of this. And I'm not minimizing or reducing the tragedy of when that happens here, but this is not the only place it happens, and this is fortunately a place where people should be able to choose to protect themselves and prepare for this type of thing if it happens. Kenya, unfortunately, does not have that type of freedom, and we see the severity of that when people who are prepared march in and just take over.
Well, and to put a percentage behind that number, this college is a fairly small college. It has 815 students, so 147 dead out of that. What is that, like 18% of the college was taken out.
Staggering. I think part of what also makes this sad is that we tend to be the type of people that compare this. Not only did it not happen here, but Americans tend to compare it like, oh, it's not as bad as blank, so it doesn't matter. Because yes, there have been worse tragedies, but this kind of stuff is unacceptable. I mean, didn't we not that long ago? It was either a church or a school where we saw something similar happen? I believe it was a church in Africa.
Pakistan.
Was it Pakistan?
That was another school, right?
I don't remember exactly.
2 months back in December, I believe, and yeah, that's when something very similar happened.
Yeah, it's the same MO. I mean, just what is going on?
Well, and the irony here is, in America, we're all debating about schools on campus or guns on school campus.
Yeah.
Why should we ever let university students carry guns on campus? Well, hello. I mean, this is an example. I mean, Kenya is a nation of unarmed people, and it's fairly easy for evil to just roll through and do things like this.
Well, apparently not everyone's unarmed, Jake.
Well, good point. Like Chicago.
Oh.
So, Billy, what are your thoughts?
Well, I try to keep it in perspective because this, we do hear about this happening all over. It's a horrible tragedy. It's something that it's sometimes hard for us to even imagine because of some of these conditions in some of these countries. A lot of these countries are not wealthy countries. The poverty level is very high, and the conditions are present where terrorists that want to harm people can thrive. And when those conditions are present, you see people take advantage of it for whatever political reasons they want. And but I think it's also got to keep it in perspective too, that I always try to remind myself when I hear these things, we still live in the most peaceful times that this planet's ever seen. And it's sometimes it's hard to always remember that when you hear about these horrible, tragic stories that always seem to happen so far away from us. And it's easier now to be empathetic to those things because I think we're connected now much more with the internet. So I think we can share in the empathy and the sympathy with when those tragedies happen more than we ever could in the past. But I still try to keep it all in perspective. I mean, it's obviously horrible, and I don't know what the solution is to the problem in some of those countries, but it's a tragic situation any way you look at it.
We need more machine gun preachers. That's my stance.
Well, I mean, definitely you look at it. I mean, I think people have, people have a right to self-defense. That's a human right. That's the most basic human right. And, in some parts of the world, people don't seem to have the ability to exercise that right. And that's a real concern.
Chris Christie pardons concealed carry owner Shaneen Allen. We talked about this several months ago when this all went down. She was a Pennsylvania resident, and she drove into New Jersey carrying a weapon in her car and did not fully know how restrictive and crazy the New Jersey gun laws were. And for making an unsafe lane change, turned her life completely upside down. But thankfully, Chris Christie has pardoned her. And have you been following the story, Billy?
Yeah, actually. I've been following it for a while. I guess it's better late than never, right? I mean, he initially said he was going to wait for the justice system to play out, and then he would make his decision. I think it's a real concern when you have people that are legally allowed to possess a gun. They purchase a firearm legally in a store, pass the background check, and then they cross a state line, and all of a sudden they can be charged with a felony. And I think there's a lot that needs to be done with that. I think I think that's wrong. Obviously she made a mistake. She wasn't aware of the laws in New Jersey. And considering what happened to Ray Rice and the prosecutor and how he treated Ray Rice and how she was treated, a single parent, mother of 2 kids, and she obviously wasn't a famous celebrity athlete. And, it took an entire community, thousands and thousands of people speaking up to get the justice system in New Jersey to actually say, oh, yeah, you know what? Right. I think we made a mistake.
I would be interested to know how many, interesting analogy with the Ray Rice thing. That was one thing that I hadn't drawn a parallel on yet, but I would be interested to know how often these type of pardons happen from the governor's office. You know, we kind of have this example of executive power and do whatever you wantsmanship from the president's office, and you know, the whole King Obama thing. And I wonder if we're, while sitting in a Second Amendment supporter's chair, if we look at this and we're on the side of good, that she should have been pardoned, she shouldn't even have had to go through all this stuff. You know, the state laws and how different they are one to the other, restrictive and impossible to keep up with if you travel with a firearm. I wonder how often like this reach of power happens where they're like, well, let's see if the justice system serves justice. And then,
well, I don't think it's a coincidence here. I mean, that I don't think this would have happened if Chris Christie most likely probably isn't running for president.
oh, you took the words out of my mouth.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. He knows he doesn't come from a state that has, you know, their gun control is out of control, and he needs the conservative support of the gun rights activists, and so I think it's a calculated pardon. And what really concerns me is if he potentially wasn't going to run for president, would she actually have been pardoned?
No.
Probably
Honestly, if this wasn't as high profile as it had become, Chris Christie would have swept it under the rug and not cared. That's the way he is. That state is run so backwards, you know, that people praised him because of the work he did. Apparently, when whatever the name of the hurricane was that went through there.
It was Superstorm Sandy.
Yeah, whenever that went through there, people were talking about how great he was, and then, you know, you talk to anybody about gun stuff, and they're like, he's a scumbag. And I mean, being, you know, I'm less than an hour from New Jersey. I can touch New Jersey. I can throw a rock at it if I really wanted to. I deal with this kind of crap all the time. I have to worry about every state around Pennsylvania is anti-gun with the exception of West Virginia. Every state surrounding us has no reciprocity, and you know, we're recently the subject of national reciprocity has come up again, and I don't really know how I feel about it as a whole, but in situations like this, man, would that be nice to not be prosecuted. I've heard stories of police officers going into the state of New Jersey from Pennsylvania with, whether they're on duty or off duty, I'm not positive, irrelevant, they're police officers going in with a firearm, and they have gotten pulled over and arrested for possession of a firearm. That is ridiculous. And in the same state, they, I believe that the rules for getting a handgun is like one a month, and you have to buy a permit to buy it, and things of that nature. Like, wait, what?
Right. Well, that's in a lot of states. You think about it. I mean, sure, you have to wait 10 days to exercise your right. I mean, that's absurd. If that was the case with the First Amendment, people would be starting fires in the street, right? I mean, there'd be riots and protests everywhere. Oh, you can't talk. Got to wait 10 days.
The media would be a lot smarter, that's for sure.
Say that again, Josh?
The media would be a lot smarter and probably more factual if that was the case.
It'd be amazing.
Wait, we can think about things and actually, like, maybe put facts together and formulate some real news?
Yeah, that's a far stretch for them.
Yeah, I agree. National reciprocity, I mean, it depends on what flavor it comes in, but it would be nice to be able to have a concealed carry permit like a driver's license and not have to worry about driving to, you know, because this week I had to drive to Wisconsin, and I had to bring up the map because, you know, Illinois is brand new at this, and I was like, can I drive to Wisconsin? And like some of the things I'm doing in my business, I'm really close to the Indiana border too, and I'm like, I should probably check on this to see if it's okay if I accidentally go over the state line, if that's kosher. And luckily, every state touching Illinois accepts our permit, but if you're, you know, in their state, Illinois doesn't necessarily accept theirs, so it's kind of, you know, backwards. That's
a common thing that I think a lot of people don't really kind of wrap their head around. So, case in point, this weekend I'm going to see my parents. My parents are down in Connecticut. Connecticut, everyone knows, is not exactly the most conducive state for firearms ownership. A very easy phone call to the state police of host state will let you know exactly what you can and can't do. You also have the beauty of the interstate. Because of the interstate, as long as you're taking reasonable stops, as in, eat, lodging, things like that, and you're not going to play around at golf, you can travel from private residence down interstate to private residence with every single firearm you want, and you're in no harm. You have that free passage. Now, you can't, wave it around in your driver's seat. You can't have it sitting on the passenger seat.
You have to have it properly stored according to
right. So, that doesn't, it's a better chance than not having it at all. I got actually a incident up in Maine where I blew my water pump, and my first reaction after all the news articles we read and all the horror stories, my first reaction was, okay, I'm going to the back of the vehicle because I'm not going to sit there and wait to either A, be rear-ended, I want to see what's coming at me, and B, I'm not going to get jacked. So I had my pistol right there in the back, accessible and ready to go with the back lid popped up. Cop comes up and wants to know, hey, we just closed it, I'm just waiting for my ride, and we can go about our business with my registration, license, all that fun jazz. But I know that when I go to Connecticut, I cannot carry a pistol around. There is no reciprocity with New Hampshire. But at my mom's house in the middle of nowhere with no protection, I'm absolutely going to have an AR or two, a shotgun, something that is enabling me to either A, defend that area and my family, and or B, get home if I need to get home and if things go crazy. Call me a nut job, whatever you want. But there are laws in place, and all you have to do is a simple phone call and or internet check on those laws, and you can actually travel from state to state with your firearm.
Right. Let's be clear to the audience out there. We're talking about two separate things here. Reciprocity for carrying your firearm is different than a safe passage law. Correct. You're allowed to travel between states. I do it all the time. Everybody here travels a significant amount, and we all, from time to time, travel with firearms. My typical routine: throw the guns in the far rear of the vehicle, cover it up, whatever, and throw the ammo in the cab behind me. Now, that seems to be the safest way to do it, to travel between state borders and not worry about it. But carrying your firearm on your person or easily accessible loaded handgun, whatever, in your vehicle is a slightly different matter.
And
So
you also have no reason to tell any police officer who pull you over for speeding or broken taillight about all the things in your car. Pay attention to your Fourth Amendment rights.
Well, let's talk about Fourth Amendment rights by moving on to the next story here. Deconstructing a warrantless traffic stop, or what Illinois' finest think of your Fourth Amendment rights. And this is a reader of Truth About Guns, Mike. He writes and totally lays out his experience here of driving through Illinois. He was had a customer that he was driving to Michigan, and so he was driving from Minnesota to Michigan. So he was driving down, through, I assume, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, up to Michigan. So looping around Lake Michigan that way. And on his way back, he got pulled over in Illinois. And he's got a permit in his state, but he wasn't carrying the gun, but he had neglected to store the gun properly. He had it in his laptop bag. He didn't have it in the rear of the vehicle like he's supposed to, with the ammo separate for traveling through Illinois. And so he got pulled over for apparently changing lanes without turn signals and stuff like that. And the cop said he was weaving a little bit too, which turned into a little bit of an ordeal where the state trooper wanted to search his entire vehicle, bring the drug dog out, because Mike here made several comments that the officer found concerning. It concerned him. And so he went through this whole incident, and eventually Initially, he didn't tell the officer he had the weapon, because the officer initially asked him if he was transporting like drugs, something else, and illegal firearms and stuff. And since his firearm was legal, he didn't bring it up. So he gets to the point where he's like, okay, I need to, I'm going to come clean here. And he tells the officer that he has a weapon in the vehicle, and they look through it a little more. They can't find it, so the officer's like, "Well, you must be really good at hiding this." And turns out, he's like, "Well, it's in my laptop bag," and the officer actually let him go after that because he found out that he was a legal carrier and a legal license to carry it, and he informed Mike of the way to properly transport a gun through Illinois. But like the big case here is that this guy's Fourth Amendment rights were kind of walked all over for not using a turn signal.
This article really, really intrigued me, and I actually read it all the way through. And for those of you that actually go into the show notes and read this stuff, really read through the interaction, because he makes several valid points about the verbiage that the officer used to, as the article is talking about, skirt around and get you to just give up that Fourth Amendment right. There's definitely things I would have done differently, but I mean, I can understand his predicament. Read through it, because it's definitely a lot of us who've been pulled over, especially a million times since high school. What the cop's going to say. He's going to say before he says it. Sometimes, like maybe my case, I don't know. But by preparing for that and avoiding even allowing this question to move forward, like the word concern is repeated multiple times. If an officer is concerned, it's really hard to kind of skirt around it, and this guy really kind of bullet pointed it. So check it out. And at the same time, if you're going to buy a camper, don't make it look like this shady-ass camper that is on the back of this truck. He's got like, a 2000 something with like a 86 camper on it. It looks like it's muling drugs.
Apparently it also has California tags, and he's in Minnesota.
Brilliant.
Moral of the story is actually he's very lucky he wasn't charged with any firearms crimes.
Yeah.
For whatever would happen with his Fourth Amendment rights, I wasn't there. I'll take his word on it. But man, when you're driving cross country, you have got to know the laws. And it's unfortunate that there are so many laws, and I don't agree with a lot of them, and I think it's ridiculous. But you've really got to pay attention when you're transporting firearms, what you're transporting, where you're going to. I'm always on the websites looking. I've driven through Illinois many times, and I won't stop at a hotel in Illinois. I'll make sure when I'm leaving somewhere I can make it through the state, because honestly, I know it's my legal right. I can pull off the freeway and stay at a hotel, but I don't want a handgun with 17 rounds of ammunition in my gun staying the night in Illinois, because that's obviously against the law in Illinois. So, people, you've got to know where you're traveling to, and you got to know the laws.
Yeah. I mean, it's personal responsibility. We always preach that, and the responsibility of carrying a firearm and being willing to discharge it at another human being if so needed. This is part of that. You have a responsibility of knowing what the laws are, where you're going.
Right. I think we're to a point here where concealed carry and gun ownership is just exploding, and new people getting into both those arenas. I'm afraid we're going to see this more and more of people being less and less informed, because it's more and more the norm. And you're right. You have to know your laws. And the problem is, where do you go for that as a newbie?
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of resources out there, but we're the gun guys. We know all this stuff. We talk about all this stuff. All this is, we can rattle this off in our sleep, a lot of it. And how do we, if the concealed carry and gun ownership is going more and more mainstream, how do we get the information more? I mean, I'm helping doing that with the Firearms Radio Network, bring this information to the mainstream. But how else can we do that?
What would be really interesting is to see these huge gun lobbies actually start to advocate safety through national television, something like that. We used to see PSAs all the time when we were younger, and that kind of, I don't know if that has a place on current lineups, but I think it'd be pretty amazing to see gun safety advocacy on national television. Real quick before we get too far away from it, I also wanted to mention that it is very easy to be manipulated by a police officer on the side of the road if you think you are an innocent human being. They will do everything they can to make you feel guilty and give up information. Now, not every cop is like this. Of course, we always talk there are not always bad cops out there, but as many lawyers and intelligent people will tell you, say as little as you absolutely have to. Be cordial, be polite, don't be a jerk, but do not give up information that's not necessary to the conversation.
I think, are we really missing the big scheme here that
Are we?
Jake is excited about being able to carry concealed now? It feels new and it feels dangerous, doesn't it, Jake?
Well, you know my middle name.
Oh, that's right, Danger Challenge. I forgot. Okay, that was stupid.
You're off the panel.
Sorry, John.
Well, I mean, I do think about a lot of this stuff because I am a newbie myself, and I think there's just so much that the average new concealed carrier doesn't take into account. And I'm sure there's stuff I missed too, but I don't know. It's like drinking from the fire hose when you get into it. If you really dive into it like you should.
That's what dry fire practice and draw practice and come on, Jake.
And FGG members.
Hey,
Yeah,
plugs at the end
and
of
I think the concealed carry laws is proof when you hear gun control advocates or those that wish to modify the Second Amendment are always saying that there's no gun laws, right? We hear this all the time. Well, I mean, you can just do anything with a gun. I'm like, are you kidding me? As someone who has lived in several states and had a concealed carry permit everywhere I've lived except California, there are so many laws. You have to be so careful and responsible with what you're doing because, I mean, you can easily fall into the trap of what happened in New Jersey with Shaneen Allen, and every corner you turn, there's a possibility of you breaking a law. And I don't think people realize it outside of the gun world exactly how many laws there are. And there's many opportunities for a legal gun owner to be turned into a criminal by just making an honest mistake.
So there's a great YouTube video that I'm putting in the show notes here for you guys to watch later. It's called Don't Talk to the Police. And it's a law school professor and former criminal defense attorney tells you why you should never agree to be interviewed by the police. And it's a long video. It's 48 minutes long, but it's really valuable information.
I think that I saw that it's been on there for a while, right? It's a couple years old, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And also in tune with what John was saying and the legality part of this, which definitely matters. If you Google search concealed carry reciprocity map, a ton of options come up. Probably the easiest one to understand, and in terms of, because they have the most money to put behind it, is the NRAILA.org website. It's interactive, so you can choose your state, and then it explains like what a shall issue state is, reasonable issue, no permit required. So like a constitutional carry state, stuff like that. It gives definitions of those things. So if you have access to the internet, if you're listening to this show, then I don't even know why I'm saying that, but if you go to NRAILA.org and search right to carry laws, it'll lay out all of the reciprocity stuff, so you can prepare. Like if you're a concealed carry person and you want to know, okay, but I got to get from here to there. How do I need to have my gun when I pass through X state?
Yeah. Maybe I should burn the show to like cassette tapes and send those out every week.
No, I think Ebbs is not valuing the amount of snark we're teaching out to people so that they can have the same conversations. I heard it on the radio.
I'm not taking it seriously.
All right, breaking news yesterday. Kansas goes constitutional carry. What is constitutional carry, John?
I'm sorry, you asked me.
It means nobody has to learn the responsibility and gravity of carrying a gun before they carry a gun.
No. All right. If under the law, if you are allowed to possess a firearm, and there's a list of people who are not allowed to possess a firearm. Under the law, if you are allowed to possess a firearm, you can carry that firearm on your persons, in your home, in your car, without a permit.
So that's like what's that? What's that? Freedom? Is that what that's called? I'm not super familiar with that.
Thank you,
Sounds like New Hampshire.
Yes, I hope more states go constitutional carry, and I still encourage people to go out and get training, and I think that's an important part of anything. I mean, you go out and get training on a whole host of things, but I'm someone that's not kosher with asking the government's permission to exercise my rights.
Well, and Billy, you seem generally informed on this matter, being serious here. Is there, for anybody listening, is there a difference between open carry and constitutional carry, or is that espoused in that principle?
That's a good question. If states that are constitutional carry, if open carry falls under that or not, I'm actually not sure. I've never lived, when I've been a gun owner, I've never lived in a constitutional carry state. I don't.
Probably depends on how that state's constitutional carry law is written.
Well, probably. And my assumption is, I mean, based on the logic of the way it reads, is when I think Constitution, I think, the right of free people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That means I can carry it however I want if I can legally possess that gun. But I don't. Agree. I don't. That's what my constitutionally minded logic would tell me. Then again, because it's a law and it's written by suits.
Well, Arizona open carry was legal in Arizona before they went constitutional carry.
Right.
And a lot of states actually open carry is legal. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. How many states actually open carry is allowed?
Exactly. That's what I was going to just bring up, Billy. Is that there are a few states where open carry is legal. So I think when people refer to constitutional carry, they're referring to constitutional concealed carry. So Kansas joins the ranks of Arizona, Vermont, Wyoming, and Alaska.
I didn't realize Vermont was in that list. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, they don't have any kind of documentation or anything.
So they have skiing and constitutional carry.
You can walk around Brattleboro naked with a shotgun strapped to your back, locked, cocked, and ready to rock, and no one can stop you.
Vermont has been a long time, a big freedom state, and the gun laws have been very limited in Vermont for a long time.
Man.
Glock lawsuit, gun biz run like the mob.
Not shocking.
I can't comment on that article. I don't know if you noticed who that was. That was written by someone that wrote a hit piece on me. So as soon as I pulled that article up and saw her picture, I was like, I'm not going there.
Okay.
She wrote a hit piece on you? What is it? What does it even mean?
NRA hipster, give all kids a gun. That was the hit piece she wrote on me.
Oh, good for you, Billy, man.
Look at you.
That's stardom right there.
And then she proceeded to troll me on Twitter to try to engage me in an argument to make her article go viral. And last thing I'm going to do is help some journalist go viral.
Wait, I didn't have the screen pulled up. Did you put quotes up?
He did.
Sure did.
I knew it. I heard it in your voice, and I pictured it.
Well, now's your chance, Billy. I mean, this is ultimate vengeance right here.
Yeah, she can't respond right now.
No. Well, it's funny if you look. Okay, I will say one thing because she's calling me a hipster, and I took that as kind of a dig on me. And then she lives in Brooklyn, and she considers herself a hipster, and I'm like, what are you doing? I feel so I'm so insulted. You called me a hipster. I'm like I don't
she
even.
She called you her.
Yeah. I have a lot more.
In the coffee shop that was hip before people knew it was hip.
Yeah, she's got a great catalog of articles there. You should flip through them.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there's something I'm not going to do.
This whole article. If anyone read the book Glock, like none of this is like anything new. This is gun industry 101.
Why don't you
somebody explain this? Yeah.
Yeah, fill us in, Josh.
So essentially, Gaston started out as he made like doorknobs and coat hangers. He was just a guy who fabricated, small factory over in Austria, and took on the challenge when it was the Austrian army or somebody, I can't remember which, said it's time to make a new pistol. He did all the right things. He got the right people involved, and that's why grip angles on the Glock are a little bit differently and things like that. Designed the entire gun around a magazine. minimum parts, both with cost and engineering in mind, as well as reliability and stability. He was one of the originators, so to speak, or make things popular, like the octagonal rifling, and very much a trendsetter. Now, with that, coming from nothing, getting money, he was very much straight gangster. He kept his eye on my things, but also spent very frivolously. Went and came over to the U.S., and of course, you're Austrian, and you come over to the U.S. and you got money. We know what happened to Arnold, and this just went nuts because he got gun money. So they start. I mean, there's stories of SHOT Show like 2005 or 97 or something like that, where like their executives, Glock executives, were like drunk, passed out with their pants around their ankles underneath the roulette table. I mean, it was just hedonism. But with money and blood, Biggie Smalls said they do not mix, and eventually you had ex-wives, and you had sibling rivalries and all this stuff. It started tearing apart the family. Now with that, he became very distrustful of his own family and everything. Not so much like I think the Winchester story, where he came kind of reclusive, but he definitely started locking things down. With that being said, some deals with different agencies, whether it be international or local LEOs or international LEOs and associations, traveling FFL dealers, things didn't always go through proper channels. Now, whether this was a move to actually kind of look legitimate, or maybe he just forgot what he had done, he hired a consultation or a private investigation firm to go and track down all the bad behavior, which they tracked it back down to him. So the very people he hired to find the problems in the company led back to him, at which point he said, oh, you must not have been on that meeting. See, I have this team of lawyers to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about, and we're just going to go ahead and discredit you. And now it's just this big cluster F that'll probably just die off and no one will ever care about it, but a bunch of people end up just splitting more of Glock money. That's what happened here.
Well, they just released the 43, so there will be plenty to go around.
Exactly. Everyone will be like, I don't want it. I didn't fall for it when it was a 380, but God, I gotta have it now. He's brilliant. I mean,
yes.
At the end of the day, if anyone has a chance to read that book, which is available on Amazon, this book, just to give you a quick snippet, so before the magazine ban back with Clinton came into play, Glock said, you know what? NYPD and all the LEOs, I will buy back all of your magazines. Every last one of them. I will give you fresh, brand spanking new springs, new magazines. I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2 to 1. Every one you turn in, I'll give you 2. So you buy one, get one. Every armorer, every politician, everybody who saw that said, oh my God, that's XYZ dollars off the budget we don't have to spend. Whew, send them. Magazine ban came into play. What is Glock now holding on to? Millions of pre-ban high-capacity magazines that they refurbished and resold at 4 times the rate. Brilliant. Straight thuggin'. That's all I gotta say.
I got nothing to add to that.
Gun-free Geomaker is this turnabout's fair play. So we had some apps come out that would you could mark your neighbor if you knew your neighbor was a scary gun owner, you can mark them on this geomap. So now we have a app that will mark gun-free zones on a map on your app.
Yeah, they're marking gun-free households too, I think, though, right? Which
that's interesting.
My thought on that is, don't be a jerk. I mean, either way you look at it, people that are marking gun owners, the newspapers that were marking gun owners, now these people that are marking, homes of gun control advocates. I just go by one policy: don't be a jerk. I don't troll people online. I don't harass people. Can't we all just get along? I mean, who said that, right?
What's funny is how we saw that that Bloomberg video with the couple of hipsters that were like, hey, do you know which state it's easiest to buy a gun illegally in? This kind of reminds me of that, only for like, hey, people who just bought a gun illegally thanks to this video giving out easy information. Now do you want to know how you can go assault with that gun that you got illegally? Use the gun-free geomarker.
It's the same as the New York newspaper publishing the addresses of permit holders, because now I know what house I can go and rob because they don't have a gun.
Right.
So either way, I mean, I think people that do that, seems to me there's a lot of liability on both sides.
It's just really douchey too.
It's juvenile is what it is. You know, we all freaked out when that all the people in New York got published, and now we're somebody, whoever made this, is going, well, they did it, so we're gonna do it too.
Right.
Get out of here, dude. Come on.
They sucked first.
They took their ball and went home, so I'm taking my ball and going home. No.
You can't break up with me. I'm leaving you.
Yeah, you can't fire me. I quit.
We can do this all night.
I'm pretty sure he took he took the app down, didn't he? Or it got pulled from Google, the Google store.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that happened. I don't think I think it was pulled.
This article says that apparently it's been pulled.
Right. Well, here's the thing: the guy didn't want to give his name. Right. The guy who actually made the app was, I don't want to reveal my name. I don't want to reveal. Well, come on. So you're going to make an app that you're going to reveal other people, but yet you're going to hide behind your keyboard?
Yeah.
Hypocrite.
The power of the internet.
Yes.
So the guns and money, the silencer industry seeks to break down barriers, and this is on Forbes.com. So, thought that was interesting. But yeah,
that money sites have gotten behind this.
Yeah, we've seen this before. I know we've seen articles on Forbes and Money.com,
Wall Street,
sensibility type stuff.
Yeah, where people believe in freedom and the economy and all this other sort of stuff. Wow, they get behind legal stuff. It's amazing.
I apologize though, Jake. That's my fault for the interrupt.
Okay, I'll forgive you this time. So this article, it's kind of cool. It breaks down, the booming aspect of the suppressor market right now, and how there's new companies getting into it, and there's companies really expanding it. Existing companies, there's also like the American Suppressor Association, who's been really taking great strides in helping craft legislation to get suppressor rights to more and more states, and hunting with suppressor rights also expanded. So it's I don't know. I threw this article in here because I thought it was cool to see this in depth of an article on about suppressors on a mainstream site like this.
Well, I think what's so interesting about the suppressor story is you're fighting this Hollywood stigma, right? Where if you own a suppressor, and how many movies have we seen where the guy is putting the suppressor on the handgun and he's going to break into someone's house and kill them? And you're fighting this Hollywood stigma that the only person that wants to use a suppressor is a bad guy. And the fact that if you don't want anybody to hear what you're doing, you obviously must be a bad guy. And it's preposterous. I mean, you look in England, and it's so difficult to buy a gun in England, but suppressors are absolutely legal. And they look at us like, wow, you can't buy a suppressor in America? Well, not without jumping through a lot of hoops. So it's, you're that uphill battle of fighting the Hollywood stigma to convince people that, average people would like to go out and shoot their gun and not disturb their neighbors.
Yeah, I thought it was the history that he had just of recent kind of numbers and increase in suppressor ownership, and the history in terms of shift in companies like the AAC purchased by Freedom Group, and how Sig Sauer brought on Kevin Brittingham, and then even like I like how he got down to like Liberty suppressors, which compared to some of those other ones are small, but Liberty's actually been around for, here it said 11 years. I thought it was a little longer than that, but cool because to see like that he actually went to companies that weren't just like big super common names, Silencer Co., AAC, Surefire, stuff like that, but that he talked to these folks from Liberty who also could present some figures. Hey, we're not huge, but look at the growth we've been experiencing even in this whole boom. I think that was awesome.
He's if you look on the sidebar, he's got another article on what appears to be the Silencer Co. Salvo. So this guy's clearly a gunner, or somebody that supports the Second Amendment and understands it.
Well, it's from Forbes, right? Forbes is they read a lot of pretty pro-gun articles,
which is awesome. Considering they're highly respected as a financial kind of educational magazine or outlet.
Right. Well, they tend to lean conservative, so that's why you're going to see that. So.
There is one thing I want to note in this article that this guy kind of got a little incorrect. He says he's talking about the Silencer Co. Easy Trust thing. It says the company's initiative provides legal counsel to expedite suppressor permits. That's not what a trust doesn't expedite anything. It's just another way of doing it, and it's not a permit. We need to stress that sort of stuff.
Is the turnaround on trusts not faster than?
It's about the same currently. Okay. And there has been times when trusts are faster and yada yada yada, but the purpose of getting a trust is not to make sure that you get it faster. It's to protect your family and make sure that thing you don't have to go through and pay some another fee of $200 if something bad happens to you or whatever. You can put somebody on a trust, like your kids, your wife, whatever, and it reduces possession issues in your own home and protects your family should something bad happen to you.
Well, and I think the speed rumor with trust was as it related to e-forms. When you could do a Form 4 on e-forms before they crashed, it was faster if you had a trust to be able to do e-forms. And I think, John, you can help me on this. To do an e-form on like a Form 1, like a self-build or an SBR or something like that, can individuals e-file?
I don't know that answer currently because the e-file system has had so many issues over the last, year or so, whenever it's been on. It's had a lot of issues, so I'm not sure what's possible and all that.
So I think currently, when they came back on almost a year ago, I think when they brought that back where you could do e-filing for Form 1, I think you have to have a trust to do that.
So I'm going to drop a link in the show notes. It's on a website called nfatracker.com, and this is a good way to check wait times, and they break it down by what type of form it is, how they're filing. Is it a paper? Is it e-file? Is it individual? Is it LLC? Is it trust? Yada, yada, yada. It's a really, really nice thing, and it's all user-generated information. And it goes back, the current graph goes back to May of 2013, where people were waiting up to 360 days to get their stamps back. And now we're seeing in February of 2015 where it's less than 30 days in some instances, which is amazing. I mean, this is, the statement has been said, a right delayed is a right denied, and this is part of your Second Amendment right, and it's currently being delayed by a lot.
No, we need to get the NFA repealed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I agree because the suppressor, they're calling it a Class 3 weapon, but it's an accessory. It's not a firearm. I can't unscrew that from the end of the muzzle and then put a round in and then hit it really hard and get it to fire or something like that. That's not a gun.
It's a muffler. Right. It's a muffler for your car. I mean, honestly.
But at the same time, SBR, short-barreled shotguns, those sorts of things are also on there, and still go through the same nonsense. This NFA tracker is not just for suppressors. It's for everything.
Well, we were talking about laws earlier, and then when we start to get into length of guns, and you start to really look at how many minute laws there are, it's ridiculous. And still, this is so many minute laws that people don't understand that they're there. Overall length in Michigan, overall length, if it's less than 26 inches, then it can qualify as a handgun. So, if I'm gonna, I could be wrong on the length, but there is a length limit there, and so it's just ridiculous.
Well, my favorite thing that's been going around lately is an image of an AR pistol that's the same size as an SBR, and it says this is a pistol, this is a short-barreled rifle, this one costs you $200 extra. What's the difference? Nothing.
Well, the myth that you can conceal it, right? It's the bad guy myth that the bad guys want the short gun so they can put them under their trench coats.
Right. So you have to pay $200 and then you can conceal it.
Right.
I don't even know where to buy a trench coat.
Goodwill.
Jake, are you over there concealing AR pistols?
Well, I mean, he is in Illinois and he has that freedom now. So.
Is he a trench coat enthusiast?
I can neither confirm nor deny. Let's move on to my favorite news website, the Huffington Post. Not really my favorite. The gun industry's nod to safety is just another sales pitch. And this is a fantastic article if you want a good laugh, because here, I'll just read an excerpt from it. The author says, "You'll pardon me for sounding just a tad sarcastic in this commentary, but this newfound concern about safety issues is interesting given the fact that gun designs haven't really changed in the last 125 years. In other words, guns are as lethal and dangerous now as when the invention of smokeless powder cartridges in the 1880s allowed gun makers to design small arms that could fire multiple rounds without having to reload every single shot."
I'm pretty sure we didn't have magazine disconnects in the 1880s.
And pretty sure this guy thinks that guns can fire themselves.
Well, this is Mike the Gun Guy. So this is the guy that puts Gun Guy in his name so everybody thinks he's actually pro-Second Amendment, but actually he is, for the most part, an anti-gunner that writes for the Huffington Post. He wrote a book and drove around the country and said how pro-gun he was, and now every article he writes is pretty much anti-gun. So, this is ridiculous. There's the amount of training that's gone in when you look at like the NRA with certifying instructors. There's not a gun shop you can go in this country and not find a certified instructor to teach you how to shoot a firearm. I mean, there are certified instructors everywhere in this country. And, all these gun control organizations that are calling for safety or, we need more safety, not one of them have proposed any type of safety programs. Where are their education programs? Where are they? They don't have anything.
Well, and going through this article, I get the feeling that Mike thinks all modern firearms should shoot marshmallows or something. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
Because you can still buy 1911 doesn't mean that guns haven't changed. I don't believe smokeless powder allows you to shoot more bullets without reloading. It allows for a lot less smoke. And this is like a self-deprecation piece. This reminds me of someone who was a lifetime like cigarette smoker and got mad when the cigarette companies had to pay for those truth campaigns about how bad smoking was. So this is like, even if he is an actual gun guy, this is just an old man saying he doesn't like what it's become, and he's ranting about it.
He's a curmudgeon.
Yeah, this is good.
Great.
Well, this is what I talk to about people a lot, and the fact that just because someone owns a gun or their grandfather gave them a gun doesn't mean they understand the Second Amendment and they're necessarily pro-Second Amendment. There are a lot of gun owners out there that are not defenders of the Second Amendment. In fact, there's plenty of gun owners out there that would be ready to, sign our rights away. And it's an education process, and it's part of the grassroots movement to educate these people that claim to be gun people, and they don't know anything about the rights and responsibilities of the Second Amendment.
I think what's funny is this guy is out there saying that, guns are super dangerous and we should talk about safety and, they're ultra dangerous, but here we are as responsible gun owners educating people. He's just out there screaming from his soapbox, these are horrible, but he's doing nothing to educate anybody about why. He's just pointing fingers, spinning around in a circle with his tutu on, and trying to point fingers, and it's just kind of ridiculous.
Not to mention he's poking fun at the very thing that he's writing about. So these guys are making these horrible safety videos. We need to be teaching more safety.
Well, there's a big difference between someone writing an article and saying how dangerous guns are, and someone writing an article telling people they need to get education, right? Part of the education program can be talking to people about, yeah, guns are a serious tool. We need to be careful. But the education program shouldn't start out with, this is such a dangerous item that I don't even know if you should be holding it. It's kind of a different approach on things. And I'm concerned about any time someone comes out and tries to use the scare tactics to educate people, because that's not the best way to educate people. So I start to question their motives when I see things like that, because either they're completely ignorant or he's writing an article designed to get people to, support gun control.
Yeah, there's a shocker. Huffington Post.
So, hey, the guy owns 3 Mini 14s. He's got to be pro-gun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That says it all. I guarantee you no less than 5 1911s that at least 4.5 sit in a safe.
Okay. So we're running up on time. We need to get to the full auto news segment. We're going to skip over 3 stories we had here, but they will be in the show notes for you guys to check out later, including a story about the ATF raiding the gun store that was featured in American Guns? What show was that?
Yeah.
It's Gunsmoke in Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
I believe Ebbs made an appearance on that show.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
That's like your favorite thing to tell people.
What's wrong? Ebbs hates it.
House of Guns reality TV star.
I'm going to introduce you as that every time now. So.
Okay, thanks.
Looking forward to it. Another article we're skipping is Tannerite files a libel suit against NBC for calling it a bomb maker.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Then something about the Taurus Curve being recalled already.
Aw, boo.
Yeah. So if you want some more information on Glock, the rise of America's gun, you can buy through our Firearms Radio Network affiliate link. That's right. You can support pro-gun radio like this by buying through anything through Amazon through our affiliate link at firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And we were to the full auto news segment, stories the real media won't talk about, and other crazy stuff. So this is where we take turns calling a story our own and sharing it with the world. So, John, do you have one you want to start with?
I want to talk about the wooden AR magazine speed loader. I would just like to point out that this is probably the same as any other speed loader that I've run into. It takes longer to actually load the loading mechanism than it does to load the magazine, and is therefore kind of inefficient. I don't know. I've yet to find something that really genuinely makes it faster. What these things do is save your thumbs, and if you're loading tons of mags for a class or a shoot or whatever, this will save your hands in a big way. But they are really cool. And what's interesting about this is this particular wooden model resembles the Kamenga loader, which I believe costs like $400 and some odd. And if you could, take a router and a piece of wood and create your own at home, that's huge. I would gladly go out on some sawhorses and create this thing in my driveway and have some fun, man. Because speed loaders are excessively expensive for what they do, with the exception of the Uplula. I don't know. What do you guys think about speed loaders?
I was gonna add the thing about Uplula. So.
Yeah, stripper clips all day, every day. I think watching him do all 30 rounds in that fun little channel and getting the brick and cramming it all in there with his full upper body strength, I think I could probably have a mag and a half loaded with just straight stripper clips and the Upalula or whatever, little flip over and dump it in. You spill it out, another clip goes in. Uplula, Maglula, I don't know. Me and Monkey have funny names for it.
There's a few different. There's a Stripalula, which is the thing that you use for stripper clips. Then there's the Uplula, which is like a light switch you flip back.
Yeah,
and
that
forth.
light switch is stupid.
I like that. I think that works great.
No way. The little light switch one? Have you tried the stripper clip one?
No, you talking the one that just you pull it back and you push it back and pull it forward? Yeah, I think that works great for AR magazines, right?
Yeah, it works.
I was using one earlier today. Listen. Not everybody buys ammo and stripper clips.
You know what? whatever. I got a whole box of just the stripper clips right here. Here, so everyone at home can see. Look at this. Waiting for the next batch of loose pack.
Yeah, but
So,
you know
so
what?
you take the time. You take the time to put your rounds on a stripper clip.
These are for actually home loads. I buy them on clips already.
Okay, but you know what? let me explain something. That kind of falls into the same thing. I got into an interesting conversation with the good folks at Caldwell about their speed loader that holds 50 rounds. I said, well, here's the thing. AR ammunition comes in 20-round boxes. Why is this a 50-round loader? They're like, oh, well, they sent me this huge list of companies that sell ammo in 50-round boxes. And I said, this is all $2 a round, $1, $2 a round hunting ammo. Nobody is going to load 50 rounds of that at a go. Nobody in their right mind is going to do that. And I think the stripper clip thing kind of falls into the same line. There's not a lot of companies. I think Federal is one of the few that sells ammo on clips already. So for those of us out here that aren't cool enough to buy it like that, there are other options. But I don't know. Speed loaders are good for saving your thumbs.
Don't do that.
All right,
Don't do
Josh.
what?
Josh, you're up.
As much as I want to do the torture testing of the SIG suppressor, I actually like this one because I think a question came up from Ebbs and you just posted that again today, the rifle that was found leaning against the tree.
Yeah.
So this guy down in Arizona found a Browning 22 loaded, chambered, safety off in a secondhand golf bag, like at a yard sale. So here's the question. Do you report it, or do you not report it?
I wouldn't report that. It's a Browning Buckmark. That's a great gun.
Ebbs?
No, I'm keeping it.
Well, it's public now, so we better report it.
Well, the cops are saying it's coming back. I think the cop said it's coming back clean, but the problem is it's never been missing or stolen, and it's not registered either. So it's like a mystery gun.
What state was this in?
Arizona.
Well, why would it be? There's no registry in there. I always find that interesting because you hear this a lot of the news, like it was an unregistered gun. I'm like, well, yeah, but you're talking about Arizona. There's nothing registered in Arizona.
So does that mean by registered, are they saying like registered with the state, like a serial, or either the ATF? Like that serial number has to be somewhere.
I take that as like a state registry. Michigan has a pistol registry, so really? all pistols in Michigan have to be registered, which we need to change. But I call when they say ATF, and we found out the ATF who it was sold through. I consider that tracking, right? Because you're going to the gun manufacturer, you're saying, here's the serial number. Tell us where you shipped this to back in 1915, so we can track that store. Well, stores only have to keep their paperwork for. What do they have to keep it for? Until they're 20 years or until the life of the business?
It's 5 years, I think.
I think it's longer.
Or is it 10?
Years.
I think it might be 10 years.
I think
I can get my dad in here and ask him.
So they're not, it's not trackable. But anyway, I digress.
That's a valid. I learned something today.
I hear that in the news all the time, though. It was an unregistered gun. I'm like, well, what state are you talking about?
Right.
There's also things like here in Pennsylvania, we have a de facto registration by keeping records of sales at the state police of handgun sales. That's to me, people will say all day that is not a registration, but if it can be tracked to the individual it was sold to, that is a registration.
Yeah, it still is.
It's a problem. It's a problem.
Any gun you've purchased in a gun store in the last 15, 20 years, there's going to be paperwork, and the ATF can track it back to you. It's a registry. It's just a paper registry.
Right. Well, the thing in Pennsylvania is that they're not supposed to be using that to track firearms. It's just supposed to be a record of sale. That's it. They're not supposed to use it to track shit. And yeah, it's a big problem. I've had many an argument with people over that. They're like, but no, it's registered. No, there is no registry. The police just keep records.
Did you just do a timestamp? Hang on.
I think I did. I slipped it in there.
Ooh, it wasn't me this week. So, Billy, a timestamp is what we call out when somebody drops a naughty word. So that way Jake knows to grab his handy pen and paper and make a note when he does post-production we need to make a little goat noise or a dog noise or something to bleep out the dirty words.
Do you
John,
use
Shane.
gunshots? You should use gunshots.
No, we use the standard bleep. Okay, Abs, what do you got?
Really, just the bleep thing? Whitey skipped over the SIG torture test, and it's just a guns and ammo video that's shared on guns.com. So if you look in the show notes and click on it, they run in a minute. They run 7 magazines through a fully auto AR-15 that has a SIG, one of SIG's new suppressors on it, one of their funny shaped ones, and but it gets up to 1,000 degrees, and actually like the end of it catches on fire. There's actually starts to flame on a little bit, which is pretty cool. And I think what SIG's been doing, what's the thing, guys? Over the last year, 2 years, year and a half, maybe. They're kind of jumping ahead and making some interesting strides. They're surrounding themselves with good people and good minds, and like bringing on John Hollister and Kevin Brittingham from AAC, and then for their optics. What did we find out at their range day that their new optics people are loopholed, right?
Loopholed, yeah. They ganked a bunch of loopholed.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's cool to see. Maybe the SIG thing is for real, because you're running full auto. I mean, after the first magazine, it jumps to 200 degrees right off the bat. I mean, those things hold heat, and even if you've never shot a suppressor on a gun. Even like my single shot 300 Blackout, which by the way is one of the quietest things you've ever heard with subsonic ammo, it's fantastic. But even with just running that, 3, 4, 5 shots, it gets really hot to the touch.
Let's give a small little golf clap for Guns and Ammo actually doing a useful video.
Yeah, the funny thing is they put their lead mustache on it, and Patrick Sweeney. I actually like Patrick's writing, but primarily with handgun stuff. So
their lead mustache. I love it.
Wow, that's going. I'm keeping that. I'm just gonna keep that one.
All right, moving on. Billy, what do you want to cover?
Well, I haven't been paying attention to too much lately because of my documentary launch. So that's what I would say I would cover. I think everybody should go and watch my promo for the doc I'm trying to pitch, trying to raise money for. I think it's really important for the Second Amendment community. We really don't have when you look at documentary film out there. I would say it not always, but tends to probably lean to the left, especially gun control documentaries. Beyond the assaulted one that you had a couple years ago, there really hasn't been a documentary that defends the Second Amendment while addressing problems that we face as a country. Because I think it's important for us to not just put our head in the sand. We need to address some of the issues we face, but we also need to bring facts to the table too. So, but I tell everybody, go over to Kickstarter.com and search for Protecting Liberty. And give it a watch.
This is honestly something we would normally cover in the show. I mean, we talk about these cool types of things anyway, and we all know and love your work. So I think we should take this time to ask you a couple questions about it. What's like the main driving theme here? Are you just trying to promote the Second Amendment as a whole? I mean, it's called Protecting Liberty. Where's the core of this documentary?
Well, the core of it is we have a misperception problem in this country. And when you look at the media, you look at the facts, violent crime has dropped by 50% in the last 20 years. But the perception Americans have is that violence is epidemic. And that's a perception issue, and that's largely created by the media. And it's gotten a little worse over the years because media has changed, because we have access to media. We're always bombarded with media. So there's an opportunity for media to shape your perception. And when media constantly runs stories about people getting murdered, you might start to create the reality, because your reality is shaped by the perception. So you start to think that, oh my God, crime is worse, but the data actually shows crime is dropping. And that perception is then used to push for more stringent gun control. So there's a fear that's created through the media that this is a problem. And so this documentary is going to cover that. It's going to, I'm going to investigate the fact that where is the crime coming from? What are the conditions that are present where crime exists? And I think we're going to find out that where you see when you see the problems in this country with crime, none of the conditions are because of legal gun ownership, meaning none of the problems are because of legal gun ownership. Crime problems have nothing to do with legal gun ownership, absolutely nothing. And, no one's talking about that. So kind of, the strategies that the media uses and government uses, this exists in a lot of our other rights. We've seen this perception issue with the war on terrorism, right? I mean, you're more likely to die in a car accident than you are by a terrorist. But look at the erosion of the Fourth Amendment because of that. And it was a perception issue. So we have a perception issue with crime. And that people are trying to use that as a means to restrict our Second Amendment rights. So in a nutshell, that is it. There's a lot I'm going to talk about. There's a lot I don't want to talk about now because I'm going to reveal it in the documentary. But it's going to be pretty cool.
I think if anybody is going to try and tackle it, you are, if not the best, one of the best to do it, man. I think you've got a really good voice, and not just like your actual voice, but as far as the perception of you. People think of you as centrist, and that's a very good thing, especially when tackling something like this.
Thank you. I don't look at politics as a left or a right issue. I think it would be, if you look at the media I've put out there, I try not to be polarizing. I'm big on labels. I don't like to label people. I mean, people always ask me, what's your politics? They think I'm some centrist. My politics is freedom. I mean, first and foremost, my politics is individual rights. That is it. And people always say, "Don't tread on me." I say, "Don't tread on anybody." And that's my politics. And the media and this misperception issue that I see in so many other issues, it really concerns me because the media is extremely powerful. And this is such the Second Amendment community is such an amazing grassroots movement, and all of us are advocates for the Second Amendment. And so I look at a documentary like this. This is something that you can go and show to your friends that don't understand the Second Amendment. This is an opportunity to give tools to people to engage others on these topics so they can then go out and become an advocate for the Second Amendment. And so I think it's time. Someone needs to make this documentary.
Kind of like a well-made video describing that feeling people get the first time they shoot a gun.
Yes.
All that freedom, all that awesome in one shot.
And I, we talked before and after the show a little bit, but I want to make sure everybody who is listening understands that we, as a community, this is an exceptional community. It is a strong community, but I think it is often a divided community. I think the opposing side seeks to do that intentionally by saying, the ones of us that say, the Second Amendment applies to all firearms, and then you have the hunting community and are like, well, I'm not going to fight for that because that doesn't affect the things that I do, even though it eventually will. I think we all need to band together behind an effort like this that is not sponsored by some huge label like the National Association for Gun Rights or the NRA or oh gosh, I had like a list of a half dozen of them, and it doesn't matter, but huge labels that people immediately tune out. Instead of, here is an everyday American who has an interesting way of saying things that doesn't necessarily look and talk and represent himself like somebody who advocates open carry Texas and walks into a Chipotle with an SKS slung over their back. But he presents things with clarity and understanding and something that is exactly as he described, a tool. And I'm psyched about it. And I think I'm trying to talk seriously and sincerely. So I think even though I say I'm psyched about it, it sounds like I'm really bored and I'm forcing it, and I'm not. I'm freaking pumped, and I want to see it get done. And so you guys go to Kickstarter, search Protecting Liberty, and dump all of your savings into it, okay? Because
well, Kickstarter does have a limit. You can't spend more than $10,000 on Kickstarter.
Oh, so. Well, wow. I mean, we're The NRA has existed for a long time. We've got some guys out there wearing cowboy hats with deep pockets. So sell a couple of those prize Black Angus bulls and support this film, okay?
I don't think that's our listener base, but
you know what, Jake? Stop imposing limitations on your audience. They're going to think you hate steak, and then they're going to hate you.
Oh, I love steak. I love steak.
Yeah, you're also from Illinois, so.
All right. Well, we have a link. We'll have a link in the show notes to Billy's project here, Kickstarter.com/project/Billy Johnson. We'll get you there as well. So, very cool. Really looking forward to that being funded, and looking forward to seeing it made. So if it does, if the funding's successful, when are you planning a release?
So I'm trying to get something done by SHOT Show. To some of the high-end fund, I know it's going to be a race. Believe me, but minimum I will have a cut for some of the high-level people that invest in Kickstarter. There's some of the rewards on there that they'll get to see a rough cut. So I'm going to have something at SHOT Show, whether or not it's the finished film or not, I don't know. But it's, I definitely, this has got to get out before the 2016 election. That's my plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ambitious to say the least, but I'm behind you, brother, for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate everybody's support. Everybody's been awesome. I mean, so many people have come out and supported the project, and it's just been amazing.
Very cool. Well, we have a few stories we didn't get to cover this week's full auto segment, so you guys can check those out in the show notes. Things about most humane method of execution, is it firing squads, or man gets a stiletto through his skull during a heated argument with his wife. So don't want to miss those.
Had to end on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So, Abs, House of Guns, what's going on?
House of Guns is a little bit of a backseat to House of Arms right now, where we sell old man guns. But if
whoa! I am not an old man.
No, neither am I, John. Actually, this is I have your waiting to be threaded 500 barrel sitting right here by me. Oh, sorry. And yeah, we are getting ready to release. Typically, we've only carried Thompson Center guns, firearms, pistols, and rifles, and then also Bergara barrels that will fit those. But we have just received our first shipment and are taking product photographs of a line of CVA brand Apex single-shot rifles also that we're going to be adding to the store, kind of a full weekend, and like I said, product photos and all that good stuff. So we're expanding, which is good news, and the firearms community is amazing in how broad it is and how these little pockets of niches just still continue to explode and grow. So that's what I'm working on.
Very cool. And you're actually going to be bringing some of your products to Amazon, correct?
We are. I'm working on that now. It's kind of like for somebody who's done eBay and gunbroker listings all this time, the Amazon system is so different. I'm sure I'm like a monkey doing a math problem or something. So it's a little bit of a task learning the new system. We got a lot of products that are going up on Amazon too, and getting ready to expand the store that way. So that's houseofguns.com is the review site. House of Arms, HAUSOFARMS, is the online gun store. So you can check that out if you have time. And if you call the number that's on there, you're going to get my dad. He is the #1 gun shop owner / customer service rep in the country. He will talk to anyone for as long as they want to have talk. And he even has new hearing aids that he can control with his iPhone. So he loves it, and he'll talk to you all day. It's awesome.
Marty!
Oh, dude.
Hey, Abs, call me about Amazon. I'll give you some pointers.
Yes. Okay. Gladly.
All right, Josh, Four Guys Guns, what's up?
Four Guys Guns. Four Guys Guns is actually, we have a new video going up on members next week. This one's actually a bit of a long one with a new instructor. We're working with Matt DeVito. whose focus is definitely in people who are looking for self-defense, the reality of the situation, so to speak, and not as much geared towards your standard issue. Here's how you draw. Here's how you pull. He's more about survivability. In all the years he's done that, he's come across many firearms, those that work, those that don't. This episode will be covering everything from the main different types of firearms, their actions, what separates them, and how to overall choose your self-defense firearm, which is great because it follows along the same line of getting people started on FGG members with, what kind of holsters, how to draw from them, how they work, accuracy drills. We're going to start doing these. We're going to bring back Just the Tip. Just the Tip will be free stuff, 1-minute little drills brought to you by the trainers we work with to make sure that you can get, something to practice, to be more proficient, not just in the basics and fundamentals, but real life problem solving when it comes to how to, take care of business, so to speak. We also have some new reviews going up this month as well, including Magpul, and hopefully some cool new stuff from Surefire that we're looking into right now. So all that, 4guysguns.com. You can follow us on pretty much every social media network at 4guysguns, all spelled out, FOURGUISGUNS. We can all spell EBS. And with that, I pass it off to you, Mr. Patton.
So,
Ka-chow.
you threw me for a wrench there. So what I'm doing with I'm with Chaos is trying to get out some more content. There's a lot of stuff that is kind of in the works behind the scenes. We're getting ready for some big stuff this summer. Patent Media, my day job, company I started not that long ago, is moving right along, and we're staying busy. So things are kind of shifting around. I'm trying to find the best way to make things work. We got a lot of videos coming out. Some Beretta reviews, a rifle and a shotgun. Some ammunition videos, a silencer additive video is going to come out soon. Lots of cool stuff coming, big stuff coming this summer. Actually, just today we set up a studio, like a proper studio in my basement, to start filming some new stuff coming this summer. It's going to be really exciting, so keep an eye out for that, guys.
Is that why all the sheets are off your bed?
No, that's another reason.
Naughty, Jake.
All right, anyways, moving on.
Jake would notice that.
So, Patreon, you can help throw your support by crowdfunding shows like This Week in Guns via Patreon. It's an easy way for you to pledge your support, $1 or $2 per episode. You can go to patreon.com/week, and we have some great companies that have thrown their support behind the show as well, and you'll get a chance to receive a random battle box full of swag from MS Clean Kits, Duluth Trading Company, GunGoddess.com, and Duke Cannon Supply Company as well. So check that out, patreon.com/week. And we also have a network-wide Patreon, patreon.com/FRN if you want to support the network on a monthly basis, choosing between only $1 or only $5 per month. So that about wraps us up. Did I miss anyone? We all got our plugs in, right? John, Josh, Ebbs, and Billy, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So that about wraps us up. Leave your feedback by commenting on the bottom of this YouTube video or at thisweekinguns.com/111. That's where you can find the show notes. And please leave us that iTunes review. And don't forget you can contribute by shopping with our Brownells and Amazon affiliate links. Well, that's a wrap, and we'll see you next week.